Welcome to Real Health with me, Karl Henry. Folks, today we're joined by life design coach Caoimhe de Fréin to talk about vision boards and intentional living. We explore how visualization can help people clarify goals, stay motivated, and make meaningful changes to health, habits, and lots more, without falling into wishful thinking or feeling stuck. Caoimhe, welcome. How are you?
Thanks for having me. I'm delighted to be here.
Big intro there. Lots of pressure. First of all, let's get stuck in. Vision boarding. Mm-hmm. What is it for people who don't know?
So to give you context, around 7 years ago, I was introduced to vision boards. And I have an engineering degree and a PhD in physics. So I'm your STEM science woman, right?
It's a long way from a vision board.
So very practical, logical thinking, right? And 7 years ago, I was working in the tech industry in Hostel World, and a manager who was really invested in me personally told me about vision boards. And she was like, go home and make a vision board. And I was like, I'm leading a team of data scientists. What are you talking about? Vision boards, right? So it just felt a bit out there for me. But I went home that afternoon and I made a vision board, and I've made one ever since. So to put it simply, a vision board is a visual representation of how you want your life or an aspect of your life to look. Okay, so an aspect being your career, your leadership style, or your business, or your health, say. So what do you want it to look like? And the very first step to making a vision board is pausing, that scary word, pause, to reflect, to get clarity on what success looks like for you in this aspect.
Oh, vision boards have gone deep all of a sudden. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so you're reflecting on your own opinions, thoughts, values, beliefs about success and what that actually means.
Yeah, and you're like, the answer, we are always evolving as people, right? So the answer is always kind of moving. And you won't have all the answers, and all the jigsaw pieces won't be in place. But just even pausing to get clarity. Who am I? Who do I want to be? And what's the gap, right? So that would be the first step. Pause to reflect. Then the second step is, I guess, lighten it a bit, right? So this is what I would do in my workshops. I do design workshops. And I go back old school. And I'm Pritt stick, scissors, right? And magazines. And I do this because I want you to feel like a child again.
Yep.
Because things were possible when you were a child.
Brilliant.
Right?
Yep.
So you've got your clarity maybe on what success kind of looks like. You've got your scissors and your Pritt stick, and you start looking through the magazines for words, text, mantras, and pictures of what resonates with me and what kind of adds to this definition of success.
Okay, so it's kind of they're visual representations or prompts of success, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And you stick them all on a piece of paper. Now, my only rule in the workshops is that you have to stick the vision board somewhere that you will see every day. And there's lots of schools of thought on this. And some people say, make the vision board, hide it away because you don't want to feel kind of down about the life that you have right now and that it's not good enough. But my thinking is, have the vision board that you're going to see every day. On a practical level, you're not going to forget everything that you're trying to set out to achieve. But on a deeper level, it starts to rewire your subconscious into believing maybe these things are actually possible, right? So you start to create space in your mind and in your brain. And these limiting beliefs like start to kind of like not necessarily disappear, but kind of shift.
Because we do that as we get older, don't we? We do create this kind of comfort zone of limiting beliefs that I can only achieve this level of work or this type of car or whatever it may be. But our lives generally become a little bit smaller.
Yeah.
Where by comparison to children, if you ask a child what they want to be, like my son wants to be an astronaut or a farmer, or it depends on the day, right? But like it's something generally very big and very cool and very exciting and whatever. You ask a 40-year-old what they want to be and they really don't go there at all.
No, because I think we become so shaped by society, right? And the mission of De Fréin, the business, is to help people live by design and not by default. So that default mode is where we are living with expectation of society, right? And just doing what we're expected to do rather than getting intentional and designing the life, right? And big thinking. So I guess back to the vision boards, if we're staying on track. So we've created space now to remove some of these limiting beliefs or put them to a side.
Yep.
We've got our vision board hung. My vision board is beside my bed. I see it every morning, every night. And when do I see it or not? Kind of like it's there in the background.
Yep.
But when I'm drying my hair 2 or 3 times a week, I'll look at the vision board, right? So I am actually reflecting on it. And it starts to kind of go in. There's the scientific thing is that it's the RAS part of your brain. So the reticular activation system gets activated, right? So that's the red car theory.
Mm-hmm.
So I ask you, how many red cars did you see coming in today? Yep. And how many did you see?
Not that many, actually. Well, honestly, maybe 4 or 5.
Okay.
Yeah, I was walking a lot today. Yeah.
So on your way home tonight, you're going to be looking out for the red cars.
Yes.
Because you're primed to see the red cars.
Yep.
So I have my vision board beside my bed. I'm primed now to see the goals and intentions that I've captured. Goals, what I want to do. Intentions, how I want to be. The goals and intentions, my brain is primed to see the opportunities that are already there and the possibilities to support this vision coming to life, right? And then, being the scientist, I get into the experimental phase, which is your test and learn, right? So you got to take action. It is not enough to just leave these pictures and texts on the wall, right? Nothing's going to change. You have to take small steps to exploring these goals and actions. So if your goal is to get fit and strong, you have to at least ring up the local gym to see if there's space for you there, right? Or talk to your friends about how do you do it, right? So you have to take small steps and then you iterate. And it's a cycle then of reflection and action to then see what's the process that suits me here that can help me bring this vision to life, leaning into the fear, because a lot of the stuff that we don't do is because we're scared. Somebody said to me in a workshop lately, Irish people are just scared to be themselves. They're embarrassed by themselves, right? So leaning into that fear to find a joyful way to bring your vision to life, and then you start to get these wins.
So it's kind of, goal setting with a bit of crack.
Yes.
It's kind of where our initial conversation has gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because there will be a lot of people listening in thinking, vision boards now. That's fierce American, or that's fierce. It's kind of, it's almost wishful thinking in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah. And it's so interesting in my workshops, actually. The Americans are so ready for this.
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
They're doing it, right?
Yeah.
The Irish.
Yeah.
We're miles behind them. And I have done workshops with people from 20. I've actually done TY workshops, so people from 16 up to 8-year-olds. I've worked with retirement group. And you can see the attitude difference. You can map it out by the profile, right? But in Ireland, we are moving towards more curiosity, creativity, acceptance of vision boards working.
Because and we see it with social, but also in some of the big conferences in Ireland now. I've seen loads of them over the years. Like Brian Tracy would have been one of the originators of the American kind of success speaker kind of dude, and then you've Tony Robbins and all them. This ties into this is very much part of their presentations. It's the idea of vision boarding, visualization. We see it with sport. The Irish rugby team do it before they go out. Rory McIlroy does it before he plays a golf shot. He's already played in his head. From the sport perspective, anyway, we are seeing science kind of bringing it to the fore, which is that they play the routes, they drive the cars, they play the Gaelic match final in Croke Park before they've gotten the pitch. There is bringing it from a vision board to visualization. There is a lot of science now backing this up, that this is, it's important.
Yeah. It's important because otherwise we're living in a small, tight box And coming back to that idea of the comfort zone, I like to think of that as an elastic band. And your comfort zone is a circle. The elastic band is around you, right? And you don't want to take a giant leap outside of that elastic band, otherwise it'll snap. But if you stay in the centre of your comfort zone, which is delicious, right? And it's really cozy and you're not going to mess up or say anything stupid. If you stay in the centre of that comfort zone, your comfort zone will shrink around you, right? That elastic band gets smaller. And then all of a sudden your capabilities are like really reduced. Whereas if you creep towards the edge of your comfort zone and just kind of test it out a little bit, that elastic band starts to expand and all of these possibilities start to become real and obtainable. And visualization is such a powerful tool to help you. And mantras mantras is another one now. People might think I'm a bit woo-woo talking about mantras.
Well, let's go to mantras.
Mantras are like a really powerful way to brainwash yourself into doing something that you're too scared to do. So one of my mantras is front row ready. And I got it off, I cut it out of a magazine last year and I put it on my vision board. So that's another thing that would be on the vision boards is mantras.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And I see front row ready, right? And I see it for the first 30 days. And I'm like, oh yeah, whatever, right? It doesn't mean anything. And then somebody rings you up with an opportunity for work. And they're like, will you go abroad? Do you go abroad to do your workshops, right? So one of my corporate clients last year, do you do international workshops? And I'm in my head, absolutely not. I have no idea how that's going to work. And I'm like, front row ready, front row ready. Yes, I can. I can't wait, blah, blah, blah. Right. So using it in that case, went on the radio a few times last year, front row ready. Let's just see how it goes. Got onto a programme with Enterprise Ireland. So all of these practical ways, because I told my brain, I rewired my brain to believe that I was front row ready to do all of these things. Mantras are amazing. Another mantra that I have is, I will not let myself be guided by fear.
Oh, yeah.
And that is so powerful. Like, even when you say it to yourself, you're not removing fear from the equation, because we're never going to be able to remove fear, right? But what we're doing is accepting that fear is there, leaning into fear and saying, okay, I know that you're just trying to look after me, but I've got this. I'm going to explore it. I'm not going to let fear dictate my future. I'm going to take the decision based on my values rather than based on fear. So I will not let myself be guided by fear.
I've one. There's a hotel I stay in town when I come up, and in the bar in the food area, there's a big neon sign on the wall, and it says "You are here." And I took a photograph of it. And I look at that on a regular basis. And every time I look at it, I'm like, where am I? I actually use it as like a self-check-in. It's a mantra to check in with myself. And, you know, where are you? And how are you? Whatever.
Yeah.
And it's been really beneficial from a leveling perspective or a check-in perspective. Yeah. And it's a trigger to remind me to do it.
Yeah.
Visualization thing. Like when I was a kid, so when I started my business, I love cars. So materialistic as they may be, I still love them. And the visualization that I used to use was for a particular car. So that was on the vision board, on the wall. And then I brought the brochure and cut bits out of it, and I planned the car and the type of steering wheel. And then from the vision board to the visualization was I used to go to bed visualizing myself driving the car.
Oh, I love that.
And the emotion of driving the car and how I'd feel driving the car.
Yeah.
And then eventually I got it. Once I got it, actually, the actual pleasure didn't last quite that long. But the point is the vision board and then the step to visualization, for me, was a very powerful tool.
Yeah.
And it's something I would still use to motivate myself. Is probably the wrong word, but it's incredibly powerful.
Visualization. Yes, because your brain, the way that it works is your brain doesn't know the difference between reality and make-believe, right? And visualization can work in a few ways, right? So on a very handy way, it can serve you when you feel like you're in a bit of a pickle. So for example, I was eating a toffee at Christmas time, part of my molar fell out.
Oh.
Had to get the molars rebuilt, never eaten toffee again. had to get the molars rebuilt, and in the dentist chair, I don't know, have you gone to the dentist lately and they're wedging the plastic
Oh, yeah.
sheet?
Yeah.
So I hadn't been to the dentist in a while, and they started wedging this plastic sheet in my mouth, and apparently my teeth are very compact, so it's hard to get the sheet in. So it's taken a very long time to get this sheet in, and I can feel my heartbeat starting to get faster. I can feel my palms are starting to get sweaty, and I'm like, I don't have panic attacks, but I can feel like I'm panicking here, right? This isn't going to work. And like, you can't really have a panic attack when they have the plastic sheet in your mouth. So I was like, okay, let's do some visualization. And I visualized a day on my summer holidays when we were in France. And we went to this hidden beach in France together, the family of 5 of us. And we rock up, and I'm visualizing exactly where we parked the car, the smell in the air, opening the boot, getting out the fromage, the baguettes, the jambon, all the bits, putting them into the bag, feeling the weight of the bag on my back. One kid, another kid, I have 3 kids, 8, 6 and 3. So I'm feeling their hands, which one is clammy, which one is cool hand, the cool breeze, the woody kind of, and all of these things of visualising. So visualisation is engaging all 5 senses. And I am living my lovely day in France while that dentist is doing their work on my teeth. And I'm so relaxed now. Every so often I slip back into reality, and I'm like, oh, I'm not too hot in this. But then I'm like, okay, think about the smell of the coffee, you know?
It shows you the impact on stress, on anxiety, on mood. It's, you know, and there's a reason that the high performing sport athletes do it.
Yeah.
And it's something that you know, the normal person needs to bring into their life. There's no question about that. Chat to me about so we looked at vision boarding, we've looked at visualization. Goal setting comes into all of this as well, obviously, and that kind of intentions of what you would like to be. People sometimes struggle with that, don't they? The idea of goal setting and sticking to goals.
Yeah.
It can be very difficult for people to do.
Yeah. And I think when you think about a goal, there's 3 parts to a goal. So I'd work in this with my clients. There's the what, the how, and the why. So this is the Simon Sinek thinking, right? So the what is, what do you want to achieve? Your how do you want to do it? And the why, what's the motivation? And they're all tied together. And if you want to have a successful goal, you have to have those 3 parts mapped out, right? So a goal, say for example, it's January 1st. And we're caught up in the frenzy of all the New Year's resolutions, how we're going to be the new Caoimhe for 2026.
As we were chatting about before we came on air, you made a really interesting point as you bring January up. January has become less January.
Yes.
Hasn't it?
Yes.
And for those listening in, what we mean by that is that 10 years ago, January was really a bomb of, it was like, let's change, let's da-da-da-da. That's all slowed down now. We're seeing it at different times of the year, April, September, November, but January itself has become a little bit less kind of boom change, like dramatic change.
I love that. January has now become, it used to be more high pressure.
Yes.
And now it's become this time where we acknowledge that we are wintering.
Yes.
And that we are putting energy back into our roots. And that we are being. And just reflecting and taking space. And then spring comes, so February 1st. And that's my busy time of the year, actually. So people start to come to me loads in spring. We're energised, renewed, ready to go to set goals and intentions, right? So I think it's important to take that space in January and not to put the pressure on ourselves. But if you are in the frenzy maybe of goal setting and setting loads of resolutions about how you're going to drastically change who you are, okay? One thing that goes wrong with the goal setting is you make too many goals and you forget them, right? So on the practical level, if you have your vision board and you've captured all of the information on the vision board, you're not going to forget it. But then coming back to the what, how and why. So what is the goal? And is the goal a meaningful goal, right? Or is it a goal that's really shaped by fear, right? Is your goal like, I want to get a promotion in work, right? And is that actually a goal that really resonates with you? Or is it a goal that you feel like you should be doing? for fear of judgment, fear of failure. All those fears kind of can shape it. But if you can come up with a goal, a great way to come up with a goal that you know is going to land with you is understanding your motivation. So your goal might be, I want to get fit and strong, right? And you're thinking now about what's my why behind this, because that is going to power me through the days that are hard, right? So what is my why? And my why can be, I want to be fit and strong is the goal. And my why can be, so I have an amazing beach body, right? And everybody thinks I look so toned. That's kind of a short-term, weak why, okay? It's a very extrinsic motivation. So it's a motivation that's kind of honoured from outside. You're placing your self-worth in the hands of others. If you're living in Ireland, your time on the beach is going to be short-lived.
Yep.
So we're not making a lifestyle choice here, right? Whereas a why that might be stronger is I want to be fit and healthy because when I'm 80, I want to live independently. I want to be able to do my full food shop. Like I know 80-year-olds who have to break up their food shop over the course of the week because they don't have the strength to lift at home, right? Whereas we know now that the strength training is so important. So putting in the work now so I can be that 80-year-old person. So I visualise 80-year-old Caoimhe. She looks deadly. She's got a lovely sleek grey bob. She's got cool glasses, right? She's living independently, able to take home that food shop, able to go walking in the mountains. Like fresh air for me, that's what I want. She's able to go over, see her friends. She's not constrained, right? So that's a really strong intrinsic why. So you've got the what, strong and healthy. The why, you want to be 80 and living independently, and your how. Now, the how is so important in terms of what you said about being consistent. So culture and life at the moment is really instant, right? I want a packet of Pritt stick for my workshop, order it on Amazon, right? I want to watch the next episode. It's on Netflix. You know, we don't really have to work for things. So we can lose the graft a bit, and that skill set of grafting. So we need to know how to graft, but then we need to focus. That'll power us on the how, but there's loads of ways, for want of a better phrase, to skin a cat. So there's loads of hows to get me strong and fit. There's a movement for everybody. And no movement is necessarily right or wrong as long as you're doing it. So for me, I'm in a running club. I've been in the club Brave Runners for 3 years. Love it. I love it for the fresh air, the chats with my pals. I love feeling strong, going out into the mountains running. Put me in a gym, my idea of a nightmare. Put me in a pool, not for me. So there's a movement for everybody. So you have to be willing to explore and experiment. And you have to be willing to experiment. What is the movement that's going to help me reach my goal? And I think you have to make that process fun. And you also have to set targets for the days that are great and the days I know I'm going to have lower energy because I haven't slept. So maybe just showing up to training and doing an easy run on a Tuesday night is good on the days that I haven't had the energy, or the days that I have the energy for it, I'm ready to do my quality session. So whatever that is, you just have to have that flexibility, but it's the consistency of showing up, the graft to work at it with the element of fun.
Is there a danger of vision boarding or visualizing through social media?
Yeah.
Because we all do that, though. Even if we say that we don't do, it's bullshit. We do.
Yeah.
Like we all scroll through and we see a house, a car, a person, a body, a haircut, whatever. Like it's BAFTA season. Everyone's out in their dresses looking and tuxes looking amazing. Like we all look at stuff.
Yeah.
It'd be hard not to absorb some of that.
Yeah.
And say, I'm visualizing that holiday, that trip, that experience, that whatever. But actually, it can be quite negative in some regards, can't it?
Totally, because you don't have all the information, right? You only have a slice of that person's life on view at that point. Somebody, interestingly, so I started the business just 2.5 years ago, and somebody came up to me while we were trick-or-treating one of the nights, and I'd been in the business 10 months. And one of the mums on the estate came up to me and she was like, "Oh my God, I just love what you're doing. It's so inspiring. You know, you're just really going out there and getting it. You're so fearless. And I just stopped in my tracks. And I was like, you know, I have a joke with my sister that I should have a paper bag on my desk that's branded with De Fréin, and I barf or hyperventilate into that bag. Now, not actually, but some days I might want to, based on the level of fear I'm feeling. So we have this idea. Caoimhe's out there. She's built a business. It looks really successful. You know, she's doing her dream job. And then we get down on ourselves because we're not doing that. But we don't have, as much as I try to make my Instagram honest, right? You don't have all of the information about like the grafting that Caoimhe is doing in the background, the grit, the number of no's that she is getting, right? You've just painted this false reality of how easy it is, not necessarily for Caoimhe, but for the other person, because that person was born ready and born able to do this. And that's the whole concept around life design. It's designing who you want to be and practicing being that person. Like we say, practice the piano scales every day. If you want to be good at your piano, practice your scales every day.
10,000 hours. Yep.
But we don't then apply that to practice being confident. Practice how you want to show up. Practice your public speaking. We don't think about it like that. We think you can practice the hard skills, but you can't practice the soft skills. But you totally can. You just have to be willing to experiment with it, not get it right every time, and just practice.
It was like when we started the podcast first, before, while we were working on the pitch for it, it was all, the visualization was, could you imagine if we were number one? That'd be great. I'm driven by stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that was the guiding for it, through the first batch of recordings and the first whatever. It was, could you imagine? And like that, it was the visual. I was practicing, well, sure, feck it, we'll practice, like, we'll record like we're number one. We did. We got it. And it was like, it was all part of the process of it.
Yeah.
Just to drive you forward. And it kind of pushes you out of your comfort zone a bit. One tip for people who are listening in, we've covered a lot of ground in a short space. If you would like to give them one key tip to take away to do after our chat, what would that be?
Can I give two?
You can.
Okay. So first one is just start. So often in my workshops, people come and they have these great ideas, but we're so good at talking ourselves out of things.
Yeah.
Just start. Start the smallest possible way without any of the answers. Just start. The second tip, if you want to live intentionally, put time and energy into the things that bring you joy. So make space to reflect. So I've got a journaling club where you have that space to reflect. It's online and we're tapping into what is bringing me joy and how can I put more time and energy into that. Lovely. No.
If people want to join your journaling club or find out more about you, where can they find you?
So they can find me on Instagram at De Fréin, DE_F_EIN, or they can find me through my website. I do corporate workshops where I go in and work on leadership design. How do you want to be as a leader? Graduate design, career design. So there's the corporate part, and then the life design I host workshops in Shankill. They're actually out the door. So, but there's a few on the website. So if you'd like to book in for those,
amazing.
There you go.
You've inspired me to go back to, I haven't done a vision board for a little while, but they've inspired me to do it. What I used to do is I'm going to do it over the course of the next week. All my diaries when I was in school and when I started out in work, I cut stuff out and have them on the first page of the diary, or have like a mantra board of quotes.
Love it.
And see, like that, you'd see it every day.
Yeah.
And I haven't done it in about 2 years, and I'm so going to do it now on the way home on the train.
Good.
So thank you so much.
Good.
And thank you for coming in. Folks, I really hope you enjoyed today's episode of Real Health with me, Karl Henry. As ever, you know where we are, at Karl Henry PT on Instagram, realhealthindependent.ie, and on the Irish Independent website. If you like what you heard, don't forget to rate and review. Get your vision board done, and we'll see you next week. So long,